So no big deal. We're just going to get right into it. And we're going to go ahead and start making a tier list. And it's going to be perfect. So, I do know, in fact, what the first god is. The first god has been, will be, probably always will be Agni. And he is our pinnacle of Smite in terms of balance that we've always looked at for our A tier. Thank you, Zero Vector, for subbing 3 months in a row, by the way. I do appreciate it. Thank you for supporting the Twitchiest community on Twitch. Agni is our pinnacle A tier god. He is like the focal point of balance for our tier lists. Kind of always has been. He's a strong character that requires a bit of aiming. You know, he's good in the role he's supposed to be in. He's not good in really other roles. And he sees some competitive play, but not necessarily a ton of competitive play. He is perfect focal point of balance. He is just like, he is the mean, if you will. Next up on our list, we've got Amajane Kab. Once we can find him, he's down here. Amajane Kab. Amajane Kab is a god right now that's just not very strong. He hasn't been for quite a while. He's seen a little bit of play, not recently. He hasn't been toned in a long time. I'm going to continue to give him the B tier. Could I give him the C tier? Sure. Would it be as fun to give a B the C tier? No, it's much more fun to give him B tier. He's right around this region. He's too easy to gank. He's too susceptible. He doesn't have any getaway skills. Great damage output, but an early gank on him takes him out for the entirety of the game. His late game isn't too bad, but still lacking an escape makes him pretty useless comparatively to most ADCs. You're never going to pick over a ton of other characters. Thank you, IR Jessica, for the sub and supporting the Twitchiest community on Twitch, although I hope you do work on your English just a bit. It's okay, I can't grammar either. So, that's kind of that. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? Next up on our list, we got the Pwashy Pwash. Oh, look at that. Pwashy Pwash does whatever an Opwash does. Opwash does okay things. He recently has been seeing a little bit of love in the solo lane. Pomponius has been playing him in the solo lane and ranked fairly well. He's not seeing any real competitive play right now. He's not preferred in the mid lane. He's too easy to gank. A lot of the mid laners right now you're seeing are either ridiculous damage output like a Zeus, or something a little bit safer like Nuwa or Zhong Kui, characters that either have an escape or are extraordinarily tanky. But he's not terrible. He's not the worst character in the game. We're going to give him this B+ tier. He definitely needs a little bit of work in order for him to be viable. But he does have decent anti-healing. Hell just got nerfed, though, so she's not quite as strong. So it takes away some of the potency of Alpwash if you want to do like an Alpwash Odin combo to counter a Hell. But you don't have to do that nearly as much anymore because of the nerf to Hell, so it's not quite as bad. Not quite as bad. Honor recently getting an itty-bitty buff, just a little bit of buff. Nothing crazy for him, though. Just because he got a buff doesn't mean he's going to be crazy now. But he is seeing a little bit more play just right now as people are trying to kind of see where it moved him, if it didn't really affect him at all. I doubt it's going to move him too much. He's pretty much just balanced ADC. He's certainly not bad. He's got great early game presence. He has the crowd control. He has the potential for 1v1s. But he's not really a late game ADC, and that's kind of what we're seeing, you know, in the favor for ADCs right now. It's a lot of Shiba Lanke's Souls. Soul, of course, having one of the best early games out of any Hunter, but she also has a fantastic late game. She has a weird thing where she drops off in the mid game, which is really weird for a Hunter. To have like this mid game drop, it's kind of strange. Normally Hunter's like, I suck, and then like I'm getting better and better and better. She's like, I'm great, I'm meh, and then I'm great. Weird, if you ask me. Kind of a strange little power spike thing she does. Now we gotta find Anubis, because he's our next god. Goobis. Who's over here? Goobis. He was hiding under Hui. Haha! Hello there, Goobis. Goobis is a god that, unless your name is Knight, and you're on the team from China, and you're going to come to World, and you're going to show people what's up with Anubis, then chances are you're not going to be picking it. He's not a very strong god. Lots of interesting. We saw a little bit of play actually from him at the regionals. We saw him being used for the early Gold Fury kills, which wasn't a terrible strategy. It honestly got them pretty far ahead really early. They just didn't use it to snowball, and the Anubis was kind of the reason why they lost, because he kept getting picked off. Didn't have the right builds to go against all the shields of the Underworlds being against him. But not the worst showing we've ever seen from an Anubis. In fact, one of the few showings we've ever seen from an Anubis. So I'm not too mad. He's doing all right now. Ao Kuang. Ao Kuang is a god that was so strong for a period of time that everybody basically said, I never want to see this god again for the rest of my life. I just want him to be gone. Take him away. I never want to deal with him. I don't want to deal with his power build nonsense, right? There was that entire period of time where everybody was building him attack speed, and then all of a sudden, people just go, wait, why would I build him attack speed? Why don't I just build him power and one-shot everybody instead of having to actually auto-attack them? And then that started happening, and then begun the reign of too much Ao Kuang for too much ever, for being banned every time first to... I'm sorry, went first pick to first ban like every time. But he's not nearly as strong as he was. He then got nerfed pretty hard, and he's continually gotten nerfed as... other junglers have made their way to the top of the charts. But, I mean, he's not the worst character I've ever seen. You know, he's still doing decent. He still can hold his own. He's just not a great jungler. He can hold his own, though. He can hold his own. Now, we gotta find... Oh, no. Why is this shifting? No. Every time we put new gods in, it moves it. But we got Aphrodite. Aphrodite is an underrated god. I'm putting over here an A+. She's a god that doesn't... Not putting A+, putting A. She's a god that gets kind of a bad rap, mainly because she's strange in the roles that she can fulfill. Her solo lane, mid lane presence, right? So she has to be solo or mid. Those are the only possible options. And then out of the solo mid, she doesn't really want to be solo because it's too easy to get invaded. So you go mid, which is fine. The only problem then is her mid-Harpy fight is fairly poor, but she does chain well with the, certain junglers like Serket. She's great with Serket. Serket jumps in, use the ulti. You can use your 2 to knock back even after the ultimate, use your birds, etc. She does have good combos. Her ultimate combo, of course, is great. She's still a hard counter for characters like Poseidon. You go against Poseidon, you link the jungler, you fight him 2v2, he krakens you ulti. No problem whatsoever there. But she's not something that you're just going to like usually whip out of nowhere. You're just not just going to be like, everybody, whoa, look at my Aphrodite. It's crazy. But, you know. Apollo! Apollo is an awesome hunter. I'm putting Apollo at A+. This Apollo is just good, you know? He doesn't see play over characters right now like Sol, who's just honestly one of the best characters in the game. So, like, what are you going to do? And then Xbalanque gets picked. Like, oh, if she's good, they're going Sol. I guess we're just going to go Xbalanque and go for the team fight aspect because we're not going to win the lane already, right? But Apollo is such a strong hunter, period. He's got good early game, good mid game, good late game. He's got the best passive in the game for a hunter that you would ever want. He's got the global presence. He's got good getaway skills. He's got good damage. He's a great hunter. He just kind of falls out of the meta, you know? He falls out of the meta and he doesn't get played as much because there's other gods that get picked before him. It's not because he's bad. It's because other gods are great. And, you know, that's the differentiating part of this tier list. Reminder, of course, this tier list is basically, would I pick this god over this god is basically how that tier list works. Why would I pick this god when I could pick this, right? So I'm going to ban this, so I have to pick these, or whatever. It's basically the extent of the list. Nothing super crazy, super straightforward. This god I would pick before I pick this god. I want this god on my team before I want this god on my team. You know, given outside of course, you know, special team compositions, stuff that you're looking for that require certain things. Alright, where's our girl Arachne? She's not super strong. Arachne's not terrible. She needs a little something. She recently got a buff with her web. Unfortunately, we haven't seen enough people playing her. I haven't seen a single Arachne out of the last 40 rank games that I've played. And of course, we haven't seen her in competitive. She did get a little buff where her web no longer breaks. And by break, I mean like how before the web used to stop following people when they would use beads, sprint, a wing blade, having all this stuff, right, to put it away. That doesn't happen anymore, so Arachne can keep following people very easily. This is going to help early game. Late game, it shouldn't make that much of a difference, but early game, it should make the ganking even more powerful for Arachne. But we haven't seen enough Arachne getting played in order to see it. Once we see more Arachne getting played, we'll be able to make a better observation. Ares. Ares, the god of war. Ares is a god that's not getting played almost at all in the North American competitive scene. He's strictly getting played pretty much in Europe. He needs a little something. The big problem with him is the fact that he has no lane clear, right? His lane clear is awful. He simply can't clear a wave. So what are you going to do in the wave clear? Well, you stay back. Unless you have Soul who can just full clear the wave by herself, you're not going to be playing out. So you play back, and that's fine. But if you play back, that means there's going to be presence in your camps, especially if your mid-jungler are losing, then they're going to be able to get your back camps. You don't have any presence to come over because you don't have the clear. That creates all sorts of problems. But he still does bring the ultimate that brings huge beads. He forces people to buy Aegis. He forces people to use their beads. He forces out... the cripple is one of the best things in the game, honestly, for Ares is going for him. He has a cripple that he can put in 3 people technically at the same time. That's incredibly strong. But he's having a hard time just kind of getting into the meta over characters like Khepri and Geb, who are more of these like supporty supports. You're looking for more generic supports with, I want to shield my teammate. I want to res my teammate. I want to give them damage reduction. More damage-oriented supports outside of Bacchus are not seeing as much play. And as so, he's going to go down in the B tier. He's not having a super strong showing, but he did come out last year at Worlds, and he was one of the strongest characters that almost let Titan beat Cloud9 in the finals at the World Series last time, which was crazy. They ended up banning it out, but who would have thunk? Artemis. As much as I love Artemis, and as much as I want Artemis to be one of the greatest characters in the game, and as much as I want to use Tusky, and I want to Tusky people until the end of time, unfortunately, she's one of the worst characters in the game. But she's not like the worst character in the game, When you've got your Ares Artemis lane, you're gonna get out pushed. You know what I'm saying? You're gonna get out pushed. You're gonna have a bad time. You're gonna have a bad time. That brings us to Athena. Athena is fantastic. She did get nerfed. She has a longer ultimate cooldown. But Athena is one of the strongest supports in the game. You can even put her in a different role. We've seen her played in the solo lane still recently. You can play her in the jungle. She brings so much presence. We saw great play from both Kiki and Pain of Yonde on Athena. She's one of your top supports that you're looking at right now. She's definitely this top tier. You're looking at S tier for her. She's one of the first supports you think about picking up when you're picking up a support. She's one of your very first go-tos. Especially in compositions that are looking to follow up with big ultimates. You've got Poseidon, you've got Scylla. Characters like that really want to follow up with an Athena. She's completely safe, good lane clear, no risk of dying in lane almost because of your dash and how good of a getaway the skill that is. Still, at the top of the world is Athena. Worldsxx. Worldsxx, on the other hand, is not a support. As much as I would like her to be. Just kidding. I hate Worldsxx. You guys catch that joke? Worldsxx is one of my least favorite characters in the game. Simultaneously because, 1, I think she's boring. And 2, when she goes against you, she's always fed. I don't know how this happens. But Worldsxx manages to get fed approximately 100% of the time that she gets picked. And that stat is right 90% of the time. But she is definitely up in A tier. She is very strong. She's not completely ridiculous, but she is strong. You have to deal with her in special ways. You can't... You want to kind of, you want to late pick her, right? You don't want to early pick your Worldsxx because then you're going to have problems with people not picking any dashes against you. But when you go against the Worldsxx, you 4th, you 5th pick it, and all of a sudden you're like, great, I'm Neath against the Worldsxx. I can't wait for her to blink on me, hit me, and then ulti me at the end, right? And then, oh, great, I can't get away. And then, oh, okay, even if I had a second jump, she's just going to jump at me with her 1 again. It's nonsense. She's not completely broken. She is counterable. You just don't pick, jumps against her. But she's totally annoying. We didn't see, any play from her? At the lane, actually. I don't think we saw a single Worldsxx game. I can't think of one. That's crazy, actually. Strong character, but, she's not Thor. And that's really what it comes down to for junglers. Junglers is like, are you Thor? Yes? Great. If not, sad. There you go. Bacchus. Bacchus had a great showing at the LAN. And as such, I'm giving him an A rating. Beautiful play coming out from Trix Tank, particularly on Bacchus. Really fantastic play. Landing belly flops on super low land ping. Tons of damage. Great setup. Great control. They weren't necessarily winning lane, but you don't have to win lane if you win all the team fights and end the game. Really, really solid play from Bacchus. Really happy, actually, to see the King baby coming back a little bit here. Hopefully we get to see more of Bacchus at Worlds. I expect Trix to be playing it. And I expect him to be landing those flops and getting some massive damage off and getting some kill steals, Trix Tank style. You know what I'm saying? So that's what I'm expecting to see. Where's our worst character in the game? Where is he? Bakasura. Bakasura is actually useless. He's still, in my opinion, the worst character in the entire game. He has no role is his biggest issue. He can't solo lane. He can't jungle. He certainly can't mid, ADC, or support. He actually has no role to go play, and that's his problem. It's not that his kit is bad. It's that his kit's bad in every single role in Smite. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just every... He has no... At least in Conquest. Of course, this is for Conquest. Maybe he's great in Siege or something. I don't know. But, this is for Conquest. And as far as Conquest goes, he's actually useless. Raven is actually better than Baka. I would rather have a Raven on my team than a Baka. That's all I'm saying. That's when you know. When you're getting compared to Raven and somebody's like, Raven's looking okay, that's when you know that God is not so good. That's when you know. Bastet. I'm giving her A this time. She saw a pretty good LAN performance coming out. Particularly from Enemy Esports. They played a pretty good Bastet over the tournament. If this was Xbox, she'd be way higher. Bastet on Xbox right now is actually doing fantastic. She's one of the best jungle gods in the meta right now is Bastet. But this is not for Xbox, is it? But as far as PC goes, her clear, early on the jungler is bad, but her level 5 gank is great. Particularly, she's come back into the meta a lot because of Zeus. Zeus comes into the meta, and then Bastet kind of follows as a counter because he can't get away, right? Bastet Cat's one of the highest damaging abilities in the game. Zeus, no movement abilities whatsoever. If you use your Chain Lightning, all of a sudden now the cats are taking it, bop, 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 bop. He doesn't hit you as much, so you don't get detonated. She's basically a hard counter to Zeus. You just have to make sure you're actually ganking the Zeus, which was a problem we saw from some of the Bastet plays this tournament, was picking the Bastet to kill the Zeus and then not going to kill the Zeus. Don't do that. If you're going to pick the Bastet, make sure you're doing what the Bastet's supposed to do. Bellona! Bellona is one of our top gods right now, hands down, no questions, no excuses. Bellona is probably the best solo laner in the game right now, outside of possibly Xing 10, who I would say is the other top solo laner right now. They serve similar purposes through slightly different means. But she is our first S+ character. She is absolutely necessary to have on your team if she's available in the solo lane. Just way too strong to not have on your team. Eventually, she's going to get nerfed. She has to. There will be a nerf train upon her. But I think we've seen the last gameplay patch before Worlds, right? So we won't have another gameplay patch affecting Worlds. So she will be strong going into Worlds. I don't think there's another gameplay patch. I'm pretty sure this is it. So that's that. She's going to be a top priority pick. Cabroken! Cabroken, I like this character. I don't think he's getting quite as much play as he deserves. Going here, what? Vulcan, what are you doing? Going here in the B+ range is Cabroken. He's actually quite strong against several gods right now in the meta, and that's because of his ultimate. His ultimate, of course, being the cone wall in front of you. You can't get out of it. You have to walk back around it, or you have to punch through it. Cabroken does really well against the following characters, and the following characters are very important in the meta. Zeus, Sol, and Mercury. Zeus, Sol, and Mercury right now are all very strong gods, and they're all gods that have a hard time against Cabroken. They all get countered by him. You're not picking Cabroken willy-nilly, right? Just to pick Cabroken. But you are possibly picking Cabroken in a counterplay situation. Kind of like you'd be picking Bastet, but Bastet a little bit more general. Just a little bit more general. Where's Chalk? Chalk's trying to hide over here. Chalk! Chalk is a god that keeps seeing play, and I'm not sure why. I haven't decided yet why Chalk is actually getting played. Why did this tier list move over? No, stop it. I don't want to go away. Thank you. Now move. Why did it move me to the left? Move me not to the left. There we go. Fantastic. Chalk is a god that is seeing quite a bit of play. And he's just not, he's not good. I don't know how to phrase that any differently other than Chalk's not good. Don't pick him. I pick him sometimes because I like Chalk. And then afterwards I go, why did you do this to yourself? Don't play Chalk. He's down here in this B tier. He's not doing anything special right now. Yeah, he can win the lane if you want to just like play the win the lane game and like throw an axe and spin around in a circle. And it's great and it looks cool and he's got great skins. But you're not actually going to do anything to help your team once you get to the Chalk or the team fights for Chalk, right? You get to the team fight and you're like, hey, I'm going to do a rain dance. You guys go fight. And he's just like, hey, yeah, yeah, hey, yeah, yeah, hey, yeah. He's just calling down the rain. Hey, yeah. He's like, guys, I brought the rain. I brought the rain. Anybody thirsty? He brings some cups of water, which is cool. But like, you gotta hit people, bud. You gotta do damage. You gotta do something. That's not his specialty. It is not his specialty right now. Is doing things. He's really good at not doing things. Really good at not doing things. Chunga is terrible right now. Absolutely terrible.
Yeah.
He's going down to C tier. Hey, thank you, Defense Ice, for subbing 5 months in a row. I appreciate it. Thank you for supporting the Twitchiest community on Twitch. Chunga sucks. I love Chunga. I think she's an extraordinarily fun character. I love her dodge mechanics. I love how cool her ultimate is, that if you hit multiple people, you get rewarded. But she just sucks. She can't play solo at all. She definitely can't play mid because she can't fight at level 2. And she definitely can't do anything else, which means she has no role. And if you have no role, you end up like Bakasura, but not quite as bad. I'd rather have a Chang'e than a Bakasura. So, at least you have that going for you, right? At least you have that going for you. Chiron. Just kidding. Chiron's not actually on this list. I wish Chiron was here somewhere, but Chiron's not actually here somewhere. But at the very end, if I remember, I'm going to put where I think Chiron should be. I'm just going to say it because we don't actually have a picture of Chiron, which is unfortunate. But if we did. So instead, we're going to do Kronos. Kronos is B tier. He can technically work as a magical ADC if Sol and Freya are gone, but why would Sol and Freya both be gone? Outside of that, you're not going to see him. He's more of a ranged character than he is anything else. You're basically not picking Kronos, right? I mean, you're basically not picking Kronos. It's just the way it comes to it. He just gets bursted down too fast. Doesn't do enough damage. Takes too long to turn on. And the game is kind of leaning a little bit front heavy right now in terms of team comp. So a little bit, not completely front heavy as we've seen a couple people lose with like Thanatos and stuff, but it is leaning a little bit front heavy because you're having your team fights around that 15-minute mark that are really deciding where these games are going. Cupid! Cupid! Cupid, the Heart Bomb King, is actually fine. He's not great. He's not grand. But ADCs all pretty much right now in general are fine. Most of them, to an extent, are playable. Outside of like AMC Artemis, they have a really hard time. But a lot of ADCs are decently viable right now. Cupid, of course, leaning really front heavy, but he does counter gods like Shibalanka, who's a very popular pick right now. You just basically ult him over and over again on cooldown, and you just kill him. So you don't have any problems in that aspect. But you're not going to see him all the time. You know, he's not going to be nearly as high as some of the other, you know, popular ADCs. But he's not terrible. He's not terrible. He's pretty balanced overall. Fenrir. Fenrir is a pick that was really popular for a while with particularly Adapting. Adapting really liked Fenrir, and then he pretty much stuck to Thor for the rest of his time. I'd like to see more Fenrir play. I'm giving Fenrir A tier. I think Fenrir is perfectly balanced. He's right at the point you're trying to get to. He's got good skills. He takes very, like, shmeh mechanics. You don't have to be great. His ultimate, of course, can be a little bit buggy, but outside of that, good character, can play technically multiple roles. We're probably going to see him in the jungle more than likely, but you can also play him in the solo lane. We've seen a couple people knock out solo lane Fenrir against some particular gods for him to counter, and he does good damage. He has good damage. You can build him tanky. He does well with the stuff that he's been given. Freya. Freya, for a time being, was one of the strongest gods that we were seeing. She was top priority ADC for a while. Not right now, she's not, but she is still strong. I think she's seeing a little bit of... She's kind of hit some hard times because of Sol. Sol came out and was like, hey, I'm Freya, but better. And then Freya was like, I'm so sad. People are going to either pick Sol or they're just going to pick Shibalanke, and I'm not going to get played anymore. And that's kind of what's happened to Freya. She doesn't get played anymore because Sol exists, period. That's kind of what's the detriment to Freya. Geb. Geb is going up here in our S tier. He's one of our top supports right now. He hasn't been touched in a long time, and he still brings everything you need a support to. We're kind of leading towards this Athena Geb-oriented support meta, which is that very defensive support, very initiating support, peely type thing, not really damage-oriented. And Geb is perfect to do that. You're going to blink in, you're going to ult, you're going to knock up, you're going to slow, and you're going to shield your ADC getting bopped on in the backline, and then you're going to use your next knock up to peel. That's the story of Geb. He's seen strong play. He's getting quite a bit of W's. He's doing very good, and he's one of the top tier supports right now that you're looking at. Especially now that Khepri got, toned down like a little bit again. Khepri just keeps getting, Khepri was like, his pedestal was up here, and then they keep pegging him down, They just keep pegging on Khepri down. And I think it's because everybody's like, it's not fun just killing somebody and then they're alive. So let's keep knocking him down. Guan Yu. Guan Yu is a character that had a not such a great showing at the LAN, but he can be played solo. The problem is that some of the solo lane characters that you're looking at, which is basically Bellona, Xing 10, are just getting picked every single game because they're so strong and they're not soul, so they're not getting banned. Xing 10 actually getting a lot of bans now, but Guan Yu can play solo. He does alright. He does pretty well against Tier. He has like a 60-40 matchup there, but Tier just got buffed, so it might actually even ruin that matchup for him. But he can be played in the support role. You want to make sure that you have some more tankiness elsewhere, some more initiation. Guan Yu not an initiator. Guan Yu more of a sustainer. He puts a little bit of damage, does some stuff there, but he's not, crazy initiation like an Athena Geb is going to give you. But not terrible. You'd want him over some of those other characters, You're not going to pick... I personally would pick Guan Yu before I pick the Ares. Some people might disagree, but that's, the whole point of a tier list is to look at it and go, I disagree or I agree. Right? There you go. Hades. Hades is fine. Hades is totally and utterly fine. There you go. Hades is fine. Oh, boy. Hebo is... I like Hebo, and I'm going to put him in a tier that I don't want to. I'm putting him in B. I think Hebo is going to have a comeback at some point with the defensive, supports coming in and stuff. We're going to have a Geb game, and somebody's going to go Hebo middle with a Thor. And the Thor is going to peel for him, and the Geb is going to peel for him, and the Hebo is going to output a ton of damage. People I think maybe are underestimating a little bit of his how effective his carpet is now that it destroys slows, right? So you can put your basically heaven agility for the whole team. But I want to see some more Hebo played. But without seeing him get played, there's no knowledge to tell me that he's going to be anywhere better than he is. But maybe I can try to break that trend, and I can try to bring Hebo back. I can bring him back. Hell's still strong. A+. Hell recently got nerfed. Hell was one of our top picks, one of our top bans. I think you're going to see more people trying to deal with her. S, A+, S, A+. S, A+. S, A+, around yonder. She's in that vicinity. She's still strong. She's still a great god to be looking at. She's not S+ tier anymore. She's definitely not this Bologna type level of god. But she's around probably this Athena Geb level. This Athena Geb type level. You still have to counter build. She still forces you into building Divine Ruin. She forces you into building probably Beat Sticks into Weakening Curses, which takes away from other aspects of your team. But you can still counter her. You can still beat her. She's just not quite as... Not auto-win, but not quite as, brain dead as it used to be with playing Hell. Hercules! Hercules doesn't get any play anymore. Hercules gets no love. I think we saw Omega play one game of Hercules, and I don't think it was a game that they won. I'm not sure what's wrong with Hercules, but he's not winning. When I get Hercules on my team, I lose. If I'm against a Hercules, I win. So I'm not 100% sure what's going on there with Herc. But he needs a little something. He needs a little touch, a little touch-erino. A little bit of here, a little bit of there, a little bit of something, because he's having... Thank you, tier list. He needs something. Not bad, though. Not bad. He'll be alright. He'll make it through, He'll make it through. He's a tough guy. Hu-Yi. Hu-Yi. Hu-Yi is a god that is stronger than he's getting played to, and is very strong in a tank meta, and he's going A+. Once again, Hu-Yi's not getting picked because nobody wants to play Hu-Yi against Sol. And nobody wants, so you basically have Sol's the baseline, right? Sol is the baseline for the ADC role now, where you're like, okay, well, we didn't get to pick our ADC first, so they get Sol, and then we get Shibalanke, because we'll just go endgame with that. Because we can't outpush her, right? Because Hui has no clear outside of jungle camps. His jungle camp clear is great. His lane clear is kind of shaky. But he is very strong against tanks. He thrives against them because of how his pen works with his second skill. It gives him great damage. He's good against Loki because he can put the mark on him and see him in stealth, but luckily Loki doesn't get played because nobody wants to ever play against Loki for the rest of forever, ever. Don't ever let him come back. Let him be bad for the rest of my life. If he ever comes back, I'm just going to be sad, and nobody wants me to be sad. Hoon Bats, once we find him, was one of the biggest gods to come out in this tournament. He was incredibly... Why does it keep... It's almost... How do I make that go back? What is happening? Why is this tier list being so strange right now? There we go. You just stay there. Stay. It's freaking out a little bit. The website was freaking out today, but that's alright. Hoonbats, S+. He was one of our strongest gods to show up in this tournament. He saw incredible play from the jungle. He was a key part of these team fights occurring around the 15-minute mark. Very often, the team with Hoonbats was winning the fights because of the ultimate. The monkey was bringing a lot of presence to this game, and he functions very well with a lot of the gods like Zeus. He can push 3 gods in the same direction, followed up into a Zeus Chain Lightning ultimate, which does a lot of damage. Hoonbats, one of the strongest gods in the game, particularly in the jungle role. You're never going to really see him anywhere else, but very strong out of the jungle. And it's mainly just because of the crowd control he brings. He's not necessarily as strong in ranked as he is in competitive, and that's just because of, communication aspects of the game. But when you can communicate the Hoonbats ult, when you're going to be doing with the movement that he brings to the table, he is super, super strong. Now, for Isis, she did not have a great showing. She's still totally balanced. She's right where she needs to be. I think she could have had a better showing. I don't think it was great. I don't think it was bad. I think she actually had a showing that showed that she was perfectly balanced because she won and lost games. But it is a god that's more of a ranked pub stomper. You get a purple pot, you outclear the wave. You can get a first blood, level 1, 2, whatever. But her endgame is very strong. The problem is a lot of these Smite games are ending right now around that 30-minute mark, which is really when Isis's ultimate begins to become unstoppable. You get in the ultimate and you can one-shot ADCs, you can full heal your team, stuff like that. But games aren't quite going long enough for her to be getting to that potential point. Janus is still probably your best god for mid. Putting him down here in this S tier. He's one of your immediate go-tos. You're not banning him like you're going to be banning Bologna's. You're not, you could first pick him. You might be second, third picking him. He's one of your top gods that your mid laner is going to be looking at because he's so safe. Janus is such a safe god. There's nothing you can really do to make him a not safe god, right? And so you kind of just play Janus and you do Janus things. He got a little bit of a nerf, but he's a very strong god. He still outputs insane damage. He still has the ultimate for travel. All that stuff, Janus is still a strong god. He does, they're trying to nerf him a little bit, moving him in the right direction, but it's not going to bring him down super fast. He's still doing all right. Kali, where's Kali? Where's that trash character? Kali sucks. Good. Let Kali suck for the rest of my life because no more Kali 5-man pentakill reset heal full health nonsense. Let her stay down with Chang'e. Let them rot. That's all I'm gonna say on Kali. Let her go away. Unless they want to bring her old kit back, in which case let her be the best mid god in the game, and I'll play Kali every game. I loved Kali's old kit. I loved it. Loved it. Love it. Khepri, who has one of the coolest announcer packs in the game, is also a support. And he's also been seeing nerf after nerf after nerf after nerf. And he's having a fine time. He's still doing okay. He's still a good support. But would I pick Khepri right now after this most recent 2 nerf, which decreased the damage reduction by quite a bit? It was a pretty substantial amount. Would I still pick him over Geb Athena? And the answer is no, I wouldn't. Putting Khepri in A+, he's still a good support. He's still totally viable. He's still really strong. But I would not pick Khepri for support before I picked Athena and Geb. I feel more comfortable with a Geb saving my life with a shield than I do for a Khepri using his ult on me and then them waiting 4 seconds and then killing me. I feel more comfortable with an Athena initiating with her taunt. Khepri still lacks initiation, and now he lacks some of the damage reduction that he was previously providing, particularly for people that were leveling up the 2 first. That's not going to work nearly as well anymore. It does not provide nearly the reactions that it used to. Kukulkan! Kukulkan. He sucks. Kukulkan, you suck. Yeah, he's not very strong, is he? We've seen decent play from, what was it, Shadow Nightmare. Played some pretty good Kukulkan over in Europe. Outside of that, we see inconsistent ultimates. We see fairly easy to gank. We see not nearly as strong as a character like Janice or anybody else, really. I would feel more comfortable with an Anubis on my team than a Kukulkan. Gonna be real with you. I'm gonna be real with you. I'm gonna be real with you. I just got real with you. I'd be more comfortable with an Anubis than a Kukulkan on my team. Because the Anubis, I'm like, well, even if he misses a little bit of his ultimate, at least he's going to hit some of his ultimate. But with Kukulkan, it's like, did you miss a little bit? You could miss all of it. Okay? That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. It's all about the guarantees. All about the guarantees. Kumba Kana. Kumba's actually fine. Kumba doesn't get played because why would you pick Kumbhakarna when you could pick Khepri, Geb, and Athena? But that doesn't mean that he's a terrible character. He actually gets, he has decent clear. He's got 2 technical mobility skills, but you know one of them is his lane clear. He's got a 2-second root, and there's no DR in roots. You just keep rooting over and over again. He's got the mez. He's got the ultimate, which is great setup. He's got the passive, which is, you know, not bad for support. You walk in and you die, and then you don't die. But why would you ever pick him over a Geb, Athena, Khepri in that role? There's no reason to. You would never do it. You would just never do it, right? You just wouldn't do it. Why would you do that? You wouldn't. But doesn't mean his actual kit in the way that he is bad. It just means other things are too strong. Loki. Loki. Get out of here, Loki. Get out of here. Sit down, Loki. Get your butt down. Let your boy Thor be at the top, and he's going to rain down the hammer, and you can be on down here and be like, I'll split push with my decoy. Loki is trash. He's pretty decent in ranked because anything is pretty decent in ranked. But Loki takes too long to do stuff. He takes too long to come online. He has to passively farm. He can get invaded really easily at level 1. He can lose the blue buff. Then he can't do his decoys as effectively. He has all kinds of problems he can run into. If you let a Loki AFK farm for 25 minutes, you're right. He's going to come online. He's going to one-shot your squishies. But in a real game, you're not going to let him free farm for 25 minutes. It just won't happen. It just won't happen. Medusa. Medusa's fine. Medusa can be played in the mid role and ADC. She's pretty decent at both. Brings good crowd control, decent damage, decent escape. That is decent damage in itself. But she's not a super popular ADC pick right now because there's a lot of really strong ADCs. But she's actually, in my opinion, a better mid laner than she is an ADC. Particularly when you're running Soul as your ADC and you need another physical damage instead of another magical damage. It's not a bad idea to be running Medusa in your mid lane instead of running a mage in your mid lane. You still bring clear. You can still fight at level 2. So you're going to be totally fine. I recommend trying out mid Medusa if you haven't tried out mid Medusa yet. It's actually really fun. It's actually really fun. Mercury. Mercury's A+ right now. I asked for Mercury to never come back, and it seems that he has, though. Mercury at the top level right now is being played incredibly effective. His level 5 ganks are on point, just like they used to be. The big thing for Mercury right now is his one punch. His one punch, when he gets his passive meter and all that nonsense, is hitting so hard. So hard. I mean, like, hundreds and hundreds of damage at pre-10 levels on characters that have a KHB at the time. After you've been hit by the ultimate, you get hit by that and then thrown into the air, you're dead. You're the one punch man. And you better watch your butt because he's coming to punch your butt. Still not a super easy character to play. He has a higher skill cap, but a very strong character in the right hands. I think that actually we might have had a 100% win ratio with Mercury in all the games that we played on the LAN. I think we did, actually. I think we might have. Neja. Where is that little bugger? Neja. He's fine. He's fine. We saw some decent play from Neja over the tournament. Nothing that makes me go, wow, I have to have Neja. Dare to Care played Neja really well. And possibly 2 of the games they won were because of the Neja. But I also believe they had the Neja in the 3rd game, which they lost. So, he wasn't, the sole proprietor carry, because Omega was doing a lot of that carrying. But, good character. Particularly needs to be paired up with some giant, as I'd say, some big money ults. Give me those big money ults. He loves to be paired with those. He loves to be paired with characters like Poseidon that he can really thrive with. Doesn't have to be, but you might as well if you're running a Neja in the jungle. If you're going to be doing that, go for it. He also has super strong mid-heartbeat fights because of ring toss. You hit the ring toss on 2 people that are standing together, and it's basically half of each of their HP. Then you sash in, and you can get the rest of their HP with that. So, pretty shabby. Pretty good. Pretty good. Where's Neitherino? Neith is strong right now. Neith in this A+ tier, she is very versatile, actually. In her abilities right now. She can go ADC and build very typical ADC like get her crit online, get her attack speed and do fine. Or the way I prefer Neith right now is mid lane. Mid lane Neith when you've got that Soul Freya ADC going for you. And build full pen and like cooldown. And your ultimate hits for like, gosh, what have we been hitting for? 800-900 at the end of the game? That is pretty much the entirety of an ADC's health bar. ADC at the end of the game is going to have, his 1500 health. You smack him with that and they're at 20%. You smack him with one more skill and they're dead. It's really strong right now. Her level 2 fight at mid-heartbeats is great. I think we saw Lobster and or Zyros and or both play Neith middle at the LAN to great effectiveness. I think it was particularly Zyros, I want to say, was playing it. But it worked out really well. Nemesis. Nemesis is okay. She still is a counter pick that's viable. You can invade with her fairly well. She's good against tanks. She's great against Zhong Kui. Zhong Kui's pretty far in the meta right now. But she's not as strong as your other jungle gods. You're not going to be seeing her all the time. But she can be a niche pick. She's not completely out of the loop. But I would not pick her, before I'm picking Hunbats and Thor. You know what I'm saying? Give me that Thor's cat, baby. That Thor's cat, baby. Nox. Nox sucks. She's not super bad. She has potential. She's great at burning beads for one person. You can pick Hunbats and burn 5 people's beads. Or you could pick Nox and clear one person's beads. I'm not saying the Nox OP, but you could burn 1 beads, or you could burn 5 beads. But the point being that that's all she does. She's just a beads burner. If they don't have their beads up, that's great. You can root them and you can kill them because it's a long route. But don't get caught by Nox when she has her root up and you don't have beads. There's your symbol. There's your go-to. Nuwa's good right now. Nuwa's doing good. You guys see Nuwa? She's doing well. She likes the meta right now. She's like, you know what? I got some clay minions. I got some Splodies. I got some Fog. I got a global ultimate. I'm pretty safe. I can play back in my tower and clear the wave. I can be decently aggressive with some minions. I can help my team split push with their soul because I can throw down minions to get backdoor protection for the towers. She's doing pretty strong right now. Not necessarily the best mid, but she's a go-to middle right now, particularly if any of the other middles are banned like Zeus and Zhonghui. Those are like her, main problems of, she's like, yeah, I'm good, but I'm not great. She's good, but not great. She's not like great. She ain't a frosted flake. As much as you'd like to be a frosted flake, Shane. Odin sucks. Funny enough, I feel like Odin, every time a healer gets nerfed, Odin just gets nerfed. You know what I'm saying? Like, inadvertently, it's like, oh, Hell got nerfed today. Odin's like off in a corner crying, like, what am I going to do now? How can I help my team? Hell, I need you to be broken for me to even be a little bit relevant. Right? If Hell's up here, then Odin can be here, and you still pick him. But if Hell comes down to here, then all of a sudden Odin's like, oh man, she's too close. She's too close. That's the problem. He needs other healers to be more broken in order for him to be, like, viable, even though he's not broken. Osiris. Osiris is strong right now. Where's my boy Osiris? Osiris is S tier. Osiris is one of the first characters you look at for solo lane once Bellona and Xingtian are out of the way. That's basically how you're doing your Osiris right now. You have a checklist in the solo lane. Is Bellona Xingtian open? No, they both got banned. Is Osiris open? Yeah. Pick him. That's basically your checklist right now. Very strong. Can deal with the anti-healing if you happen to need that, extra. His tether is great. His 1v1 potential is good. His lane clear is good. His sustain is good. Everything's good. Everything is good about Osiris. He's very strong. Very, very strong. Poseidon. Poseidon's balanced. I hate when people say, there's gods that get countered by actives, but yeah, all gods get countered by actives. Poseidon, maybe a little bit more than others just because, you can miss your entire ultimate with an Aegis. I mean, as other gods, I guess, but Baus had, like, channeled ultimates. But he brings good pressure. His level 2 fight isn't great. It's not terrible. If you get your Trident and you land your triple shot Trident shots in the level 2 fight, you can have a pretty good fight. Plus, you can whirlpool people off so they can't run away. If you get behind early, it's not over because all you have to do is land one 3-man Kraken and all of a sudden your team is back in it. But he's not a character typically that's going to hyper carry you in like a consistent manner just because he's so bursty and he's based upon hitting the Kraken in team fights. So he's not gonna just Janus 2, right? He's not gonna unstable Vortex every 3 seconds, pumping out a ton of damage. He's just gonna use his Kraken. But he's still good. Raw for me isn't the same kind of conversation. Raw is that I'm going to be okay for the mid game. I hit level 5. Now I've got my big burst ult. I'd like to combo with Nezha if I've got a Nezha available. He brings a bit of sustain, which is good. Not the same level of sustain you're going to get from a Hell. The problem is he's very susceptible to ganks. He can be very easy to kill. Obviously, no built-in getaway skill. He does have the passive movement speed, which is good, and he can sit in his own heal. But he's not going to carry you to victory. But that doesn't mean he's a bad character. He's totally viable to play. Rom. Rom's a great hunter. He's just not the best hunter. Rom is on that same level. Look how many hunters just, they get to go up here, man. Hunters are so good. There's like so many great hunters. We got Rom up here. We got Neef, Huyi, Freya, Apollo. Like, hunters are such a great role because they're so viable. I remember at one point talking to Bera. And we were just kind of talking about gods and stuff.
Oh,
he goes,
yeah.
In my active god pool right now, I have like 10 characters. And that was before Soul came out. Because he was like, because all these hunters are just so good. Thank you for subbing 3 months in a row, Jordy Kins. I appreciate it. There's so many viable hunters right now. So many. And a lot of them do a little bit of different things, so it's a little bit more positional, you know? It's a little bit more, okay, they have this, we have this. They have this, we have this. That's a bit more what you're doing with that right now in the Hunter role, which is awesome. It's a lot of counterpick going on in the Hunter role right now. Outside of like, hey, Soul is open, I guess I'm picking Soul. What-a-the-desker! What-a-the-desker! He's not very strong. He's not very strong. The nerf to his dashes hurt him. Going from 6 to 3 was killer. His acorns, you know, at one point had been nerfed and nerfed and nerfed and nerfed. He's super squishy. He doesn't bring that much damage right now. As much as DJ Pernicus wants him to be the most broken character in the game, Ratatasker is just not a very strong character right now. Robin is going to be getting a rework at some point. I think they talked about they're going to rework his passive and his ultimate, and I think that's all that they're going to be reworking. But to be fair, his 1, 2, and his 3 are actually good skills. It's his ultimate that's not an actual good ability. In fact, there's barely an ability at all. Calling it an ability almost makes me feel bad. But I would pick Robin over Baka. I'm going to give him that much. I'd pick Robin over Bakasura. If I have to have one of the two on my team, I'm just going to say, you know what? You know what? Give me Robin. If those are my options, I'm saying give me Robin. And maybe, Lord help me, I'll be able to kill somebody early game with my 3. But don't recommend picking him still. Don't recommend it. Wouldn't recommend it. Scylla's having a weird time. I want to put her in A tier, but she's not showing up. Seeing more limited play outside of ranked, but she's not performing super strong. I would like to see more play of Scylla. The purple pot start gives her decent clear at the beginning, but you are putting 450 gold into the potion to try to get the clear off. If you don't get a kill early, or if you don't win the mid-harpy fights because of that, you know, now you're down 450 gold. It's a pretty risky decision to go with. I don't hate it. In fact, I love the purple pot start, but it can cause quite a few problems. But if you wear your cogs, if you're wearing a cog Scylla skin though, she's like up here. So you have to factor that in. Like regular Scylla, cog Scylla. Regular Scylla, cog Scylla. So make sure you factor that in when you're playing Scylla. I really recommend using that skin. So Sir Cat's still a top jungler. She didn't get that much play comparatively to what we're used to seeing from her at this last regionals. And that's kind of because of how strong Hunbat was and how strong Thor was, that they were basically the two junglers for the entirety of the series outside of when Mercury came in and people were like, whoa, Mercury's a thing. Outside of that, Sir Cat, nothing changed about her. She's still ridiculously mobile. She's still incredibly strong. She does lots of damage. She has good CC. You guys know Sir Cat. She's always been strong. She always will be. Sobek's A+ right now. Sobek is kind of on that Khepri tier level where you're not really picking him before Athena Geb unless you're going for a more aggressive lane, which is, you know, team comp based, which is not, you know, what this list is based around. This list is just individual. But he works great with Soul because Lord knows nobody wants to get plucked into a Soul because you ain't never getting out. You gonna die. You gonna die. But he's incredibly strong. He brings the CC. He's got a lot of, you know, he's got the Pluck Arena of Time Arena. He's got the Pluck Arena of Time Arena, which is all that really matters. You get that pluck off, and you get some massive damage off, or at least a kill. I mean, massive damage or a kill, right? Thank you, though, Fanboy3 for the sub. I appreciate it, and thank you for saying you're part of the Twitchy community. Love Sobek. Was played pretty well at the LAN, actually. He saw some pretty decent play coming out. But he also saw some bad play. We saw a lot of misplays coming out from Sobek. Maybe too much aggression. Soul definitely S+. No surprise here, I think, for anybody to see Soul this far up in the list. She's one of your top picks. You're banning her or you're picking her. That's pretty much what's happening. You're banning her or you're picking her. Just like in the tournament, Bellona, you are banning her or you are picking her. That's all I'm saying. You're banning her or you're picking her. That's all you're doing. You ban and you pick, and you ban and you pick. Wukong. Wukong is very okay. How the heck did you guys get over there? Thank you. How did they get so far over there? Silly gooses. Okay. I have no idea what god I was just doing. Wukong. Wukong in the A tier. He's fine. You're not going to see him played anymore because why would you play him when he can play Bellona and Xingtian? It's basically all it comes down to. Nothing crazy. Sorry, Wukong. He had his reign. He had his great time in the solo lane. He had his fun. But now that his time is over, time to let somebody else take the reins. Sylvanas is fine. He still brings... His heal is actually a really underestimated part of his kit. Like, yeah, I was like, oh yeah, Sylvanas, he has the heal. But the heal is super strong if you use it correctly to sustain yourself up. Particularly when Sylvanas is your only heal on your team, because then that means the enemy team almost certainly won't be buying anti-healing, and the Sylvanas heal might still heal you for like 400 health, which is a great amount of sustain. Oh, Ymir. Did Ymir hide himself in there? Ymir trying to sneak himself up into that list, dude. Ymir's like, yo, I'm getting myself up into this list. He's like, I'm just gonna sneak right up over here. He's like, no, like S tier. S tier looks good. Only one above me. I like him, just kind of comfy. There's not too many people here. I'm just gonna hang out. No, Ymir, stop hiding in the S tier. That's not where you get to go be, buddy. Thanatos. Thanatos did not have the greatest performance. I can only think of one particular game where he was played, and that was in the game that Eager ended up losing, I believe, right? They lost that game. It was against Fnatic. That was the game that Reels had 12 damage at like 20 minutes in the game. But they didn't transfer that Thanatos into a win. They transferred it into a huge lead, into a loss. Was it because of the Thanatos? I don't know. But the point was they got really far ahead. They just didn't close. And maybe that was inherently a problem with the Thanatos, or it was just a problem with closing out the game. Thanatos did his job. Who knows? Thor. Who can guess what tier Thor's going into? I'll give you one guess. It sounds like S-Hus. S-Hus? It's S+, because Thor is silly, silly nonsense god. Silly, silly nonsense god. Nobody needs Thor explained, right? Like, everybody understands that Thor is broken. Did we watch Andy play Thor? Did we watch? His blish? Everybody's dead. You know, like the phrase "I seen some shit" comes to mind. You know what I'm saying? All right, Tier's okay. Tier's getting, I think, a bad rap. He just got buffed a little bit. If you've played against Dimby's Tier, it's pretty scary. Tier does a lot and a lot of damage, and he does it fairly early. I think now that he got even a little buff, which was kind of random, that we're going to see Tier just kind of start to come back into the meta a little bit more. I don't think it's necessarily because of the buff that he got. I think it's just because he got a buff, and so people will try him out again and be like, hey, Tier's not so bad. I think that's kind of what they're going to say. I think that's kind of how they're going to go about that. Ul's just A. He's just A. Which, you know, you would think isn't that bad, and it's not. I mean, this is realistically where all the gods should be, and it's not bad. It's just not anywhere near his other hunters' levels. Vamana, he was like okay for a while. He went through this like strange period when Wukong was in the meta that he like did pretty well against Wukong. And so then he was alright, but he does not do alright versus Bellona, and he does not do alright versus Xingtian. He is no longer in the meta. Poor Vamana is just a baby. He had like that little itty bitty moment where I was like, Bola, shot cola, what you gonna do when I'm coming up on ya? But then it's gone. The moment's gone. He's dead again. I wouldn't mind the moment coming back. But he's dead. Vulcan. Vulcan needs a little something. There's a reason why we're not seeing him played. There's a reason why we're seeing him played. But he needs a little oomph. He needs a little oomph. I'm not exactly sure what he needs. I'm not a Vulcan expert. Believe me, if you've ever seen me play Vulcan, you'll be like, wow, those ultimates would have been really good if they hit 20 seconds ago. He needs something done with him. His kit's not inherently bad. He has a pretty decent kit. He just perhaps needs some number tweaks. Or you just give it to Allied, and Allied be like, yo, my Vulcan ADC, though. We'll be like, Allied, you're not allowed to play Vulcan. He goes, my Vulcan ADC, though. Alright, Allied. Xbalanque. Xbalanque is one of your top tier hunters. Putting him up here in S tier. When you think about hunters right now on the meta, you think, he just got nerfed actually. I'm taking him down to S+. I'm taking him down a little bit. He's still strong, and he's still good because of the whole soul thing. But I'm going to take him down. His damage on his poison darts just got nerfed. That was a big part of Xbalanque's kit. Was those poison darts. That getting nerfed does hurt him. He has been seeing a little bit less. He hasn't been seeming quite as strong in ranked since this patch. But he is still a god that you're looking at to go against something like Soul, where you know you're going to be losing the lane anyway, and so you go, okay, we're just looking at straight late game. We might as well go Xbalanque and just barrel through to the late game. Still a very common strategy. Nothing you can really do against it. Xing 10, where is he? He loves that S+ tier. He loves it. He loves to be right by Bologna. He's like, Bologna, I want to land against you again. And then Bologna's like, oh my god, Xing 10, long time no see. Haven't seen you since I land against you in the last game. And then the next game's going to be like, oh my god, Xing 10 and Bologna. And then the next game, Xing 10 and Bologna. Let's keep laying it against each other. Xing 10 and Bologna becoming best friends. Because they get to lane against each other every single game. They are annoying. I don't know if you ever played against a Xing 10 or a Bologna as not Xing 10 or Bologna. But it's kind of like punching yourself in the face over and over and over again. That's what I feel like sometimes. That's what I feel like. Ymir is higher. Ymir's fine. He's fine. He's basically like the Agni of supports where he's always there. He may not be seeing play, but he's always there. That's like the story of Ymir is Ymir is higher. Zeus. Zeus is a great middle. I've got him up in this S tier. He's one of your first mids that you're looking at. You can't necessarily... You can early pick him, but that does leave open some things for the other team to counterpick you with. A lot of the gods that counterpick you are not super popular meta picks. Two of the gods that counter Zeus really hard are actually down here. They're Kabrakan and Guan Yu. Both do really, really well against Zeus, but nobody really wants to pick either of those gods against Zeus because they're not super strong and they don't do so great in their own right. But Zeus is still a super strong pick. He's still super strong. Zhong Kui. So, Zhong Kui is a god that I personally had ranked super high last time we did this list. Super high. Okay? At the LAN, all anybody talked about was, wow, Zhong Kui did so poorly. Why is Zhong Kui so popular this LAN, and why is he doing so bad? Look how poorly he's doing. I don't think Zhong Kui did that poorly. I think the reason why everybody got on Zhong Kui doing bad was, I believe it was the Eager Cloud9 set, where the team that picked Zhong Kui lost every time. But I don't necessarily think that was a reflection directly on Zhong Kui. It was just, it happened to be that way. Which led us to then, why did you pick Zhong Kui against Eager? Because we played Zhong Kui all 3 games against Eager. Well, we had a 100% win ratio with Zhong Kui in scrims and in competitive up until that point. And we had won the first game against Eager with Zhong. In the second game against Eager, we had Zhong and we threw. But that didn't necessarily mean it was bad on the Zhong. It was just, we threw. Now, a big thing that came up during the tournament was Shell. Shell of Absorption really does counter Zhong, but it also counters a lot of things. Particularly Zhong because of the ultimate. You pop your ultimate for 5 seconds. The shell goes off. Your ultimate doesn't do that much damage. It just keeps pulsing outright, so it reduces it even a little bit more than that. But it's not so bad. He's still not a bad character. He didn't have a great land, but he's still a good character, and I'm giving him A+. I think Zhong Kui is still a very safe pick for you in middle. If you're not comfortable in middle, I still think he's a great god to learn. I think he's a good god because he's tanky. He can be out of position. He can still be okay because you can pop your ultimate. And I think he still is a good god in terms of competitive leeway. Just maybe not quite as strong because of the counter of Shell. Now, last but not least, the newest god to Smite, Chiron, which we do not have an icon for, but we can certainly talk about. So I personally didn't get to play Chiron before his nerfs. I never got an opportunity to. I've only played him post-nerf, which is really all that matters now because that's the way that Chiron is now. And I've played him in the mid, in the solo roles, in ADC a couple times, but mostly mid in solo and mostly mid from that. That's basically the tier. Mid, then solo, then ADC. What I have found, obviously we haven't seen any competitive play in him, so the only thing that, I can base my Chiron placement on is personal bias, right? It's my personal play that I've ever played him or I've seen him or I've gone against him, right? That's the only way I can rate him is the play that I've seen from Masters ranked. And my ratio in ranked right now with Chiron is like 12-0. A big thing for Chiron is people say Chiron drops off. This is a big argument made for Chiron because he doesn't have a built-in steroid, which is fair. He doesn't have a built-in steroid, so he doesn't, he can't just like Rama pew 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 you at the end of the game. But his 1 is still a cleanse, which is great for teamfight. His 2 is the slow. His 3 is one of the coolest abilities in the game in terms of actual use. And his ultimate can really wreak havoc. In my experience, Chiron does not drop off at the end of the game. His strongest portion of the game is mid to early. I agree. He's very strong mid to early because he's more ability based. You're buying transcendence and stuff because you need the mana and he's ability based. But as you transition into the late game, you don't drop off super hard like say a Cupid does. It feels like Cupid really drops off towards the later part of the game. He's still very strong. He brings a lot to the table. People I think are underestimating him right now, which perhaps is some of the reason why the games are going so well. But I can safely say right now that I would give Chiron an S rating right now. That's what I would safely say. I'm not comfortable saying S+, and I think he's better than A+. I can comfortably give him an S rating currently right now in the meta. And that's not necessarily for the ADC role. I'm talking about the mid lane. Thanks, guys, for watching the tier list. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you learned something. Remember, of course, that these tier lists, guys, these are just my personal revelations that I've gathered from watching competitive play, from competing competitively, from Masters ranked, all that kind of stuff. That's where I gather this information, and this is where the cookies have kind of crumbled. This might be variable depending on, like, wow, this character did well 10 games in a row, and so maybe I rated that character higher than if I would have beat it 10 games in a row. I try to keep it more based off of regionals and stuff like that, previous lands, but it's always hard to do that because you've got to go back and look at those and see how people did and stuff like that. But hopefully we've learned something here today. Of course, if you disagree with the list, let me know. If you agree with the list, let me know. Either way, chances are we don't agree with it on the entire thing, but we probably agree on something. So let me know, guys.